The rise of Rite Aid is inspiring, to say the least. Starting off as a hole-in-the-wall health and beauty shop in one location, the company went on to become the nation's third-largest drugstore chain. With a huge presence on the East Coast, at its peak it operated over 5,000 locations with 112,000 employees. But just recently, it has been reported that Rite Aid is preparing to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. So, what happened to Rite Aid? Let's find out. To understand what happened to Rite Aid, it's important to explore its history, how it grew so quickly, and the reasons for its downfall. Rite Aid traces its roots back to 1962, when Scranton, PA native Alexander Grass founded the Thrifty Discount Center, which would be the first store in the chain that would become Rite Aid. A decade before opening his first store, Grass had obtained a law degree from the University of Florida Law School. He had also begun to pursue a legal career in tax law with the IRS and other government agencies, eventually landing a position with the Pennsylvania State Department of Revenue. In the early 50s, he had married into the Lerman family, and in 1951 began working for his father-in-law at the family's wholesale grocery distribution company, Lerman & Sons. While working at his father-in-law's company, Grass noticed a lack of competitively priced health and beauty stores in PA. Also, around the same time, there was a Supreme Court ruling that manufacturers couldn't dictate minimum prices for retailers. Grass immediately spotted the opportunity. He decided to open a store in downtown Scranton, naming it the Thrifty Discount Center. The store was tiny, at only 17 feet wide and 75 feet deep. Despite its small size, the store became an immediate success in the city, which allowed Grass to open a second location in Scranton, as well as open other locations in Wilkes-Barre, Lancaster, and Hazleton. The company grew rapidly over the next few years, through acquisitions and the opening of new stores, expanding to 5 northeastern states. By 1968, they had 50 stores, and the company decided to change its name to Rite Aid, with a subsequent IPO that netted the Grass family $8.75 million, which is almost $77 million today. The following year, Rite Aid purchased rival chain Dahl Drug Company, which doubled the company's size and gave Rite Aid a pharmacy business for the first time. 3 years later, in 1972, the company operated 267 stores in 10 states, and by 1981, Rite Aid became the third largest retail drugstore chain in the country. They passed the 1 billion sales mark for the first time in 1983, and in 1987 acquired 427 stores in 10 states. This greatly expanded their market penetration, and they passed the 2,000 store mark to become the nation's largest drugstore chain in terms of store count. More acquisitions followed in the 1990s, and by 1995 they were up to 3,000 stores, with the takeover of Perry Drugstores, the largest drugstore chain in Michigan. Grass's son, Martin Grass, took over the company in 1995, and he sought to continue to expand the company. There were more acquisitions in the next few years, including 1,000 Thrifty Payless stores on the West Coast for $2.3 billion, as well as Harco Incorporated and K&B, which brought the company into the Gulf Coast area. And in 1999, Rite Aid formed a strategic partnership with GNC, which led to the creation of GNC stores within stores in Rite Aid locations across the country. Not only that, Rite Aid partnered with Drugstore.com so customers of Rite Aid could place prescription orders online for same-day in-store pickup. On the outside, it appeared that Rite Aid was firing on all cylinders, but inside, the company was slowly deteriorating. So, what happened? First, buying the troubled Payless chain nearly took down Rite Aid. Despite changing the former Payless signs to the Rite Aid name, there were inventory issues in the stores. Too much of the same type of items were being stocked, due to purchasing more inventory than needed just to fill shelves. To make matters even worse, in 1999, the company was nearly destroyed when CEO Martin Grass was implicated in a $1.6 billion accounting scandal. After being fired from the company, he was convicted of overstating Rite Aid's earnings during the 1990s and sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Other company executives were also convicted in the scandal. Following the scandal, a new management team joined the company to create and execute a turnaround plan. They had their work cut out for them as the company morale deteriorated and Rite Aid's stock dropped from $30 to under $5. Under new president and COO Mary Sammons, the company slowly gained the confidence of suppliers, employees, and customers. Company debt was cut by $2.9 billion, and same-store sales and pharmacy sales were increasing. She convinced suppliers to their 3,600 stores to resume shipments to help fill empty store shelves. And she lowered prices at Rite Aid to increase their competitive position in the marketplace, as well as offering better product variety, expanding the photo departments with new electronic offerings, and adding vitamin shops and more housewares. She also fixed a lot of the issues with the Payless acquisition, liquidating $300 million of inventory that had been clogging warehouses and storage rooms. Salmons also implemented new training and incentive programs to improve employee morale and customer service. There were also more store remodelings that helped turn things around for Rite Aid, as well as management actively shoring up weak spots, such as the pharmacy business. Up until that point, Rite Aid had done little to build relationships with top pharmacy schools. As a result, few deans recommended the store to its graduates, which meant the competition was luring the best pharmacists. All this changed under Salmon's leadership. The company boosted recruiting efforts with better benefits and compensation programs to pharmacists. In 2003, Salmons became CEO, and 3 years later, the company announced the acquisition of Eckerd Pharmacy and Brooks Pharmacy stores in a $3.4 billion deal. During the integration process, the company reported an increase in revenue, but a sharp fall in net income, and by September 2008, Rite Aid shares had fallen over 75%. Many of the newly acquired Eckerd locations were newer, more modern stores with drive-through pharmacies and larger spaces than the pre-existing Rite Aid stores that were nearby. As a result, most of the Rite Aid stores that were within close proximity to Eckerd locations were closed, though no layoffs occurred during this process. At its peak in 2008, Rite Aid had a total of 5,059 stores and employed 112,800 people. But then, the store closings began. 28 locations in the Las Vegas area were shuttered in 2008, with patient prescriptions vials being sold to Walgreens. These closings did make sense. Having not opened a store in Nevada since 1999, the state was one of Rite Aid's non-core markets, and it hadn't been contributing much to overall results. The following year, 7 stores in San Francisco were closed, as well as 5 stores in eastern Idaho, which were sold to Walgreens. In 2015, Walgreens announced it would acquire all of Rite Aid for $9.4 billion. There were some antitrust issues as a result of the merger, and so Fred's Incorporated, another retail pharmacy chain, acquired 865 Rite Aid stores in 2016. In January 2017, Rite Aid and Walgreens cut the price of the merger to around $6.8 billion, and the whole deal was delayed by 6 months. That same month, 6,000 unionized Rite Aid workers expressed their opposition to the Fred's deal. And by June, Walgreens canceled the merger and ended up purchasing 1,932 Rite Aid stores for $4.38 billion. And then there was an attempted acquisition by Albertsons, but that plan had failed to please Rite Aid shareholders and fell through. But since 2018, the company has been operating at a loss, with only about half of the stores it had at its peak. And the company currently has about $3.3 billion in debt, as it has been embroiled in a legal battle for allegedly filing unlawful opioid prescriptions. And the Department of Justice even filed a suit against the company. But these lawsuits aren't confined to just Rite Aid. CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Albertsons, and Kroger have all recently settled lawsuits totaling in the billions. But these lawsuits have been especially disastrous for Rite Aid due to its high debt and continued losses. On August 25, 2023, the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg reported that Rite Aid was preparing to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, though the company issued a statement that it, quote, does not comment on rumors and speculation. But these rumors and speculation, nonetheless, sent Rite Aid shares down over 50% in one day, to an all-time low. Sources familiar with the matter have confirmed to media outlets that bankruptcy planning is underway, with part of the plan likely to include shuttering more than 400 underperforming stores nationwide. Now, filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy would halt the lawsuits and allow the company to restructure its debt. From there, it is possible they could stage another turnaround. But only time will tell what happens next for the iconic retailer. Like my recent Kmart video, this one hits home for my family. My wife had been a longtime employee of Eckerd and remained with Rite Aid for many years following the acquisition. I sincerely hope the company can turn itself around once again, emerging leaner, stronger, and better fit to compete. Starting as a hole-in-the-wall store in Scranton, PA, and becoming one of the largest retail drugstore chains in the country, there's no doubt that Rite Aid is one of the great success stories of the 20th century. It's an excellent example of an enterprising person spotting an opportunity, starting with whatever resources they have at hand, and reinvesting in their business to quickly scale, and in the process, make a huge difference in the world. So, what do you think the future holds for Rite Aid? Will it come out of Chapter 11 bankruptcy a leaner and more robust company? Or is Chapter 7 liquidation on the horizon? Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, if you'd like me to make a video covering another topic or expand upon anything in this video, please be sure to add that as well. Thank you for watching.